Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Baldurs Gate 3. I'm back for a little follow-up on my recent things you didn't know video. We have some interesting additions to those different topics and more things to talk about today. This almost entirely came about because of the comments of that video though, so a big thank you to everyone who got involved and added anything they knew. With that said though, here's a few more interesting things you might not know and the extra details around it all. Last time I talked about how you can actually get the very popular character Karnis to join you during Act 2. You just need a way to cast Control Undead, which is likely an Oathbreaker. Either way, by convincing Karnis and co to give you their lantern at the ambush spot, they'll basically suicide to the Shadow Curse, turning them undead. You encounter them again not long after in the town to the southwest by Moonrise Towers. One quick Control Undead later on Karnis though, and then you'll have Karnis on your team until the spell wears off, which is meant to be until the next long rest. Karnis is strong though, with a big health pool, multiple attacks that you can crit very consistently, alongside an aura that causes extra damage for you and your team. He's very good, but limited in some important ways, like you can't heal him normally or directly control him. He just sort of follows the one that controlled him originally, just defending them. Well, fortunately we can add to this concept with some very useful tips thanks to Hussar players. Firstly, you want to be sure to quick save before you ever try to cast Control Undead on Karnis, because if it goes wrong that'd be bad, and while it does have a high chance to land, there is a chance that it will miss, and you will be doing this multiple times regularly throughout Act 2 to maximize how relevant and useful he is. That's because it turns out when you do that long rest and lose the Control Undead effect, it's not like Karnis just dies or zips out of existence. He just kind of stays wherever it is that you left him. So by being aware of wherever you're about to leave Karnis, by not leaving him near friendly allies or something important, you can just come back after the long rest and control him again instantly, meaning you can have him help you through all of Act 2, which is nuts because he's very strong. Though you might be wondering, well, he might be strong, but he's going to run out of health eventually since you can't directly heal him. Well, turns out you can. By using the aid spell, you can provide heals. As Sorcerer explains, it'll be like 5, 10, or 15 health at a time, which is quite a lot of healing if you do it all at once. And to make best use of this, you could just grab a hireling to be the one that casts these, fixing up Karnis every time you need to. So with those two concepts of recontrolling him and healing him, you can have Karnis the whole way in Act 2. Hussar mentioned that whenever they go back to the town, you know, the Last Light Inn, they make sure to leave Karnis parked outside of the bridge to avoid issues with that. So what was originally just a neat, hey, did you guys know you can get Karnis to join you sort of detail and trick has turned into an incredibly effective way to beat all of Act 2. He is very impactful with how he distracts enemies, does lots of DPS. It's like having a fifth party member for all the tough fights. So thank you for the tips there, Hussar. That's made the concept way better. Alright, moving on to some merchant related ones. This one came from the comments after I talked about a couple neat merchant tricks with rep and gold last time. So this comes from Adam No Wiki, talking about a strange trick with bags and trading that should be able to be done by console players with that in mind. The reason I say that is because the trick with the grab was said to not really work on console, only PC unfortunately. If you don't know what I mean, very simply you go into a barter menu with a vendor, drag everything they have into your inventory, then back to theirs, and keep repeating that. For whatever reason, it increases your gold and theirs, then yours, and so on, without anyone actually losing anything, stacking up your gold in an infinite way, which is obviously busted and is something I said at the time is probably going to be removed. To my surprise, there were quite a few comments saying, well, it's already gone. Like weeks ago it was patched, but I'd recorded the video the day I made it doing that trick, and I'm doing it right now, in fact, so it's definitely still in the game. Anyway, what about an alternative way, thanks to Adam's advice, that might work for console players? You want to pick a vendor that's not going to move around because that can cause issues. It's just easier when they stand still. So you speak with them and enter barter mode, and then give them a sort of container of any kind. That could be a backpack, for example. Now they've got that, you can open that backpack in their menu and place everything they have inside that container. Probably all the valuable items and the gold they have, of course, and then just close off the bag menu. Then we swap out of barter mode and then swap to a different character while still in that trade conversation. As Adam references, on a keyboard you could use F1, 2, 3, and 4 to swap between your characters, but I'm sure there's a bind for that on controller. But now you're on this other character, you can try to open the container. Now it won't work, but that's actually what we expect. At this point you close the trade that's currently still going, and yet you should now still see a tab with the container there and open. If we take all, of course it's going to give us everything within, all the items you put in there and the gold, kind of confusing and breaking the trader's inventory without actually stealing it. A pretty incredible trick, and hopefully a way to manage some trader trickery as a console player if you want to do that, especially if the drag method has been removed, which again I really think it will be. It is interesting how weird and buggy the vendors can be. Alright, so now for the last follow-up from last time. The elemental weapon, or should I say weapons. Last time I talked about how the incredible weapon, the Flail of the Vortex, can actually be used by the players again. Previously, you could use a simple trick with a summoned elemental, open your inventory, swap to theirs, and then drop their weapon, and then you could just pick it up and use it yourself. Since that was patched out, you can now use this different vandalism-based trick instead that I did cover. You have an elemental go and smash stuff, breaking things of small value, resulting in an arrest for the elemental. Pretty silly concept. With the elemental being put in prison, all their items are put into an evidence chest, which now holds their weapon that you normally can't get. In that way then, we can just go to the prison and grab the weapon, such as the Flail of the Vortex for its insane weapon action, Electrified Flail. This stuns a target for 2 turns, making it miss turns entirely. And what's insane is you can use this weapon action multiple times a turn, resulting in multiple stuns on multiple targets all in one go. It's kind of busted CC. Obviously it's not intended, that's why it's so imbalanced. And since it's not intended, there's also no real animation for it. There's kind of a bit of a delay every time you try to use it and not a proper animation, but it does work. However, there's another weapon that's worth mentioning that you guys brought up, the Trident of the Depths. This trident comes from, instead, the Water Myrmidon and can be accessed in the same way. Just have the elemental get in trouble, break boxes or whatever, agree to be imprisoned, loot the chest without anyone seeing, and now you have the trident. This comes with piercing and cold damage, which is nice, but again, it's the weapon action that's the insane part. Highmaul Strike deals 1d10 of cold damage, which is very good, but more importantly, it will chill the target. This is an incredible source of chill basically, and as you might not know, chilled targets that are wet will then freeze. This turns them into a vulnerable target for multiple damage types. Double damage for, say, blunt damage, thunder, and force. The idea is like you're breaking the icicle with these damage types. So double damage means you could do a really cool setup with, say, a Paladin using Thunder Smite and maybe Tempest Cleric to maximize the damage, or while using this trident as your main weapon, a consistent source of cold and freezing effect. If you've got a Storm Sorcerer in the party, that could also be really insane. So the potential with this weapon is really high, and obviously with it being a weapon we shouldn't be able to get normally, you should maybe consider giving it a go while you still can. Having said all that, obviously this means you can use different summons to steal their weapons. Well, as there were a few comments about this, I should say there's one other way that might be worth it to you. If you're willing, you can go to Sorcerer's Sundries and use the portal to go up to the top of the tower. Here, as you likely know, you can meet Lorican, who's guarded by a couple of these exact elementals who are using these weapons. If you defeat him and the elementals, then they'll drop the weapons for you to take and use. Only it doesn't really work like that. First you have to kill them, then you have to do a long rest, then return. At which point they weirdly have dropped their bags that now contain the weapons that you can grab and use. I don't know why that happens, but it's actually the same trick that we used to, say, get the Deva Mace from that Deva, or like I showed last time, the Scimitar weapon from the Djinn if you summon that one in a similar way. We're obviously not meant to be able to get these weapons. Their animations are not only busted, but the effects are clearly imbalanced. Still, they're not only fun to use, but are very effective, unique builds when you do use them. But there you have it. That's our little follow-up episode to the different things we covered last time. Some new methods, important new details to know if you are going to try them. If you guys have any other things that might be interesting to cover or points to add to what we spoke about today, you can let us know in the comments. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.